Welcome back to the CoDaKrew podcast. After an international break and a Champions League midweek, we are finally back to our tried and true Premier League magic predictions. For anyone new, Swapnil and I have been predicting every game in the Premier League since last August, and we have a point system which is on screen right now. And currently, he is ahead of me by 1 point, 256 to 255. We're very close. And with that being said, let's just start with our one and only Friday match, which happens to be West Ham against Wolves.
We can start with West Ham. I think their season has been basically defined by just momentum swings. We've seen it for some teams, but for West Ham, it really is up and down every few games. Right now, I feel like they have lost a bit of the sharpness that carried them through their better run, like basically at the start of this year, at the new year. The structure is obviously still there. They're compact defensively. When they do win the ball, they can break forward quickly. They've got guys like Bowen and Somerville for that to attack space. But lately, I think those transitions, which are a big part of their play and their threat, haven't been quite as dangerous. And that's part of why the results have cooled off a bit. We saw that in the FA Cup game against Leeds. For long stretches, West Ham just did not look sharp enough in midfield, and Leeds were able to control the tempo. We did see real resilience from West Ham at the end of the game, but they can't rely on late chaos like that in league matches, especially not when they've got to get out of the drop zone, right? They need their edge back, and soon. However, I will say they are playing Wolves, who will make an effort for points, but they're not playing for much when it comes to this match. Plus, Wolves are pretty piss poor outside the Molineux. They've got 0 wins and 5 points away this whole season. So I think West Ham still have the directive here, and they've really just got to play how they usually do. I don't think they're going to find their old edge straight away, but I think this is still a match they should feel capable of dictating, basically.
I think part of the issue, especially, is the defensive solidity. We saw Wolves look less sharp with Todibo and Somerville out, and it is unclear whether or not they come back. But even in a worst case scenario, I do think that part of it is bad luck, and the fact that they were able to still come back in that FA Cup tie, to me, is evidence at least that the experience that this team has is going to matter for a lot, especially as we get into the later stages of this relegation battle. I know Jared Bowen in particular hasn't been all that great recently, but we know how the quality he has. We know the quality of people like, a Mateus Fernandez, a Thomas Sushak, who just qualified his country, Czechia, to the World Cup. There's a lot positive to look for in this side. And I would say the fact that despite them having probably not gotten all the points they should have based on their previous results, that one draw against Bournemouth really rings in the back of my mind, but there are others as well. I think that a better result is due for them soon. And against the Wolves side, who, as you said, they do play liberated, and it's helped them get some very, very solid results against some very strong teams in the Premier League. I just trust that in these sorts of relegation scraps, especially the later we get on, the more the relegation sides get a boost. At least the ones who actually have faith in this squad. I mean, there's one notable exception to which I don't apply that rule, which we'll talk about later. But I think for West Ham, they should definitely be looking at this match. You have to get the 3 points here, in my opinion.
Absolutely. And I mean, it's hard to predict how Wolves are going to play because of the fact that, again, there's not much to play for them. But yeah, it's like you said, they do have this bit of freedom in their games. Like against Brentford, they were completely outplayed in the first half. But once Armstrong scored just before halftime, the whole tone of the game shifted. Suddenly you had them winning midfield duels, Joao Gomez and Andre dictating second balls, and Brentford were really struggling to regain control. So Wolves can put in that effort. Usually they don't start too well, but they can definitely ramp up their games because they kind of have the freedom where they just don't care, so they play their hearts out, really. But that is just a big concern is consistency, and I don't want to take out too much out of that Brentford match because of that, because Lord knows if they'll put in that effort to replicate it. I won't say, though, that points are completely out of the cards for them. So, they played a good Brentford squad, went 2-0 down, and they came out with a point. So, maybe they can do it here, too. Who knows?
Yeah, well, the difference is that this match is going to be at London Stadium, and as you were saying
Right.
before, Wolves' away form has just not been good all this season.
Yeah, not great.
Yeah. I would say that, I mean, their offense has definitely looked a lot sharper recently. In transition, they look a lot better. And I do think, especially if we do not see Somerville and Todibo in this match, which again, big question marks, I do think Wolves can score. But I just think, I'm going to go straight to my result here. I think there's too much quality on this West Ham side. They're going to be too hungry for a win. I mean, Nuno Espirito Santo, this guy, he has dark magic. And I just don't see how he's going to let another amazing opportunity for West Ham to get out of the drop zone because they're only like I think 1 or 2 points behind Tottenham right now. I don't think that Nuno's going to let this chance slip. I think West Ham is going to take the initiative, and I think there's a good chance that at the end of this match week they will be out of the relegation zone. That's what I'm going to say. I think they win this one 2-1.
Yeah, I agree with pretty much all of that. I mean, again, Wolves have shown they can grow into games, but if they are slow out of the gate, they can also fall pretty far behind. And West Ham, I think, will start aggressively because, again, they know how important this game is for them to stay in the Prem. I think they'll take advantage of that early momentum. I'll say they score 2 goals, maybe 2 real early goals. And Wolves can try to come back from that, and I think they will. I'm just going to say that usually, like, they have twice as many losses as draws away. So I'll say just what I think is the more probable outcome. They don't find a full comeback. West Ham get the 2-1 win.
All right, fair enough. Well, then that brings us to our next match. Two teams in a very different situation. We have an Arsenal side that has been a bit lackluster recently, I would say, trying to hold on to their Premier League advantage against a Bournemouth side who is they need to win now if they want to stay in that fight for a European spot.
Yeah, strange couple of weeks for Arsenal. I mean, a frustrating Carabao Cup loss to City to lose the quadruple there. Then a shocking exit in the FA Cup to Southampton. And even the Champions League win over Sporting. I mean, it was a win, so that's great. But it wasn't exactly a vintage performance, right? I would say for long stretches, they struggled to create much. And they did need a late Havertz goal to take that first leg. So if you're just looking at recent results, there is definitely a sense that right now the attack is not fully clicking. Chances of not being coming as easily. There isn't really a forward in unstoppable form. But I still don't think, and we said this in our league overview video where we thought like, oh, they lost the Carabao and it was a really poor match, but we didn't think it was going to affect the league much. And even with the FA Cup loss, I still have to say I don't think that's the case. The defensive structure is still excellent, compact block, very good at limiting quality shots. They control games well through Rice and Zubimendi in midfield. And so even when the attack isn't firing, they just rarely lose control of matches. And against this Bournemouth side that they bring a lot of energy to their matches, but I will say this about them. They're not the most clinical. I think Arsenal's defensive stability is going to be a real deciding factor. So even if they don't score too much, they can absolutely limit Bournemouth.
The name of the game for this Arsenal side all season has been defense, and I think there's going to be no exception here. There are a lot of injuries on this Arsenal side. Again, how many of those were resting for the Champions League and resting so they didn't play in the international break against being actually injured? We still can't be 100% certain, but even if both of their fullbacks are injured, I just think as long as you have Saliba, Gabriel, and Declan Rice, very few teams in the entire world this year have been able to break that down. I mean, we saw in the midweek, Sporting looked very good on the ball for large parts of the game, but they ultimately never even really got that close to scoring, in my opinion, and that's a testament to Arsenal's defense. And then, as you were saying, you look at this Bournemouth attack. I think there were parts, especially early 2026, when I think this Bournemouth side was a lot more clinical. But you look at the recent results, right? In their last 5 games in the Premier League, 3 goals. All 5 of them were draws. Many of them I would argue that they deserved to win, but they didn't win a single one of them. And now you're going to be playing arguably the best defense in the entire world. Certainly the best center back pairing in the entire world. I really just don't see how Bournemouth score here. And like you said, there's a lot of problems on this Arsenal attack right now. I would say one thing is Saka being injured, even though he's been on a bit of a down year. Madueke is hot ass. Max Dowman, I think, is better than Madueke, but, there are always going to be reservations about starting a fucking 10th grader in a Premier League match. So I can understand you not wanting to start him. So I think I do agree with you. I don't think there's going to be like a prime Arsenal 4-0, 5-0 destruction, but they should be able to get the job done.
Yeah, I mean, Bournemouth, they do have like a pretty solid unbeaten run right now. Not unlike what they had at the start of the season, actually. And of course, they are extremely energetic, press aggressively, good at disrupting the rhythm of matches. But again, I think Arsenal can just like really keep their shit together. It's going to be very hard to break down that defensive block that they have. And also, I will say, for all of Bournemouth's chance creation that they usually have, and they're usually not going against defenses that are as good as Arsenal's, their performances keep turning into draws rather than wins. Like, they're struggling. They've had 5 straight league draws. They have a real finishing issue. They can get into good attacking areas through guys like Tavernier, Adley, but the final ball, final shot just is not sharp enough a lot of the time. Against teams that allow open games like Bournemouth can have those issues. So now against Arsenal, who, if you go back to that Sporting game, Sporting shot more, but they had like a little over half as much XG. Bournemouth, I think, are going to be exactly the same. They're going to be shooting a lot, but they're not going to be good shots. And Bournemouth aren't even that great right now at taking those chances that they do get. So I do agree with you. I think they're not going to find a goal. And I'm just going to give my result here. It could be like one of two results. I had either a 1-0 or a 2-0, but I'm just going to say I don't think Arsenal's attack are going to look that great. I'll give it a 1-0 classic shutout win for them. But regardless, I don't think they'll ever look too uncomfortable here.
Yeah, I think unless Alex Scott somehow scores a 40-yard screamer, I don't see how Bournemouth are going to score in this match. I agree with you fully. I think it's going to be either 1-0 or 2-0, and a 2-0 just feels a little bit safer with this Arsenal side. I mean, in their last Prem match against Everton, it was 0-0 80th minute, and then they ended up winning 2-0. So,
True. Yeah.
I mean, they can turn it on a dime. And
quick fire, they can do it. Yeah.
I mean, these are basically must-win matches for Arsenal. I don't think they're going to leave anything up to chance. So yeah, I'm going to say 2-0 as well.
Fair enough. Okay, then we go to Brentford v Everton. When we did that league overview during the international break, we had Everton just edging Brentford for 7th place. So, well, they're playing away at the G-Tech here, but this is their chance, I think, to prove their worth. Yeah.
Yeah. This is going to be a very fun matchup because I think these are two sides that are both very solid, definitely upper mid-table potential, but they play so differently. Brentford, counter-attacking football, the pace of Dango Oratora, of Igor Thiago, of Kevin Shalda, against this Everton side that is midfield dominant. They are midfield heavy. They try to break you down through dynamism, through progression, through overloading. You know, you have guys like Dewsbury Hall, I think is a great example. Gay, Garner, they love to break lines. So what we could see, despite the fact that Brentford are playing at home, is potentially Everton play their game, which is possession football. They try to break Brentford's, admittedly pretty strong defense down. And Brentford are happy to let Everton get the ball, and they just play on the counter. So if that happens, who knows, right? I feel like anything could happen in this match.
Yeah, the fact that it's an away game, I think, will not even make that much of a difference here. Brentford are really into Andrews' system, disrupting the opponent's rhythm with quick transitions, lots of pressing. Of course, the high energy brought by all those players like Damsgaard and Shada running into open space. And of course, there's Igor Thiago. I mean, he's got 19 league goals, right? And Brentford's system...
He might win the Golden Boot.
Yeah.
Because Holland has been scoring recently. This guy's only 3 goals behind him.
So... Brentford's system is consistently creating chances for him. So yeah, I think he will keep scoring. And I think those transitions, those counterattacks will be a big deal here. Everton are a very structured defensive side, but interestingly, from what I've seen, they have conceded more goals from fast breaks than anyone else in the league. Of course, Brentford are excellent in those moments, especially they're playing at home. It's like whether they play at home or away, they're just so into this play style that they really are willing to keep it up anywhere. I guess if there's one thing I'm concerned about, the last 3 games for Brentford are all draws. Actually, going back to February, because they've had basically almost an unbeaten streak since February, broken only by the loss to Brighton. But in that streak, most of those games have been draws. Like Bournemouth, they sometimes lack that extra edge to close games out. In this match, I think that those small margins will make a difference. But yeah, Brentford, we can expect them to play exactly like they do in every other match. And I think it will go pretty well for them.
Yeah, that's sort of what I'm seeing as well here. I will say one thing in Everton's favor is that for much of the season, they were missing their best defender by far, Jared Branthwaite, Premier League Young Player of the Year, maybe I think 2 seasons ago, something like that. Very strong player, very strong aerially as well, which is a strength that Brentford can have, especially through their throw-ins. And so I think that this Everton side, they're going to be better defensively now than they were for most of the season. But then on the other side, their attack, obviously with Jack Grealish's long-term injury, that's gotten worse. I would say Ilman and Jai has to an extent regressed a little bit. But then again, the strikers have gotten better. Both, I would say, Beto and Tierno Barry have looked a lot sharper recently. So again, I really don't know what's going to happen here. I don't know what else you want to talk about, but I would just say, again, I think it's almost 33, 33, 33 on all 3 results here. And because of that, and because the system we have, which rewards draws when they happen, that's one factor.
I'm
And
gonna
also, as
guess
you're saying,
you. Yeah.
Brentford, very drawish team recently, drew 4 of their last 6 Premier League matches. I think you know where this is going.
A
1-1 draw
1-1.
is my
Yeah,
prediction.
yeah,
Yep.
and that's what I've got as well. I mean, yeah, like Everton have had real trouble with some of the stuff that Brentford is good at, counterattacks. Like again, Brentford's energetic pressing could cause them problems. But I think Everton absolutely, like with the way Beto and Barry have stepped up, I think they can score a goal early on, even if they need to. And yeah, they are both teams here are just perfectly comfortable waiting for their moments. I think they don't really push it too hard when they try to score goals. They take the best chances and they take them well. So I think 1-1 draw, perfectly reasonable. Could even be a 2-2, but I'm just going to say it's a bit lower.
I think it could very well be a 2-2 as well. To be honest,
Yeah.
I was very divided between those two results. I'm a little worried right now because we're saying the exact same thing,
Right.
over and over again.
Yeah.
And generally, when that happens, it means we're going to get something wrong. Barcelona against Atletico Madrid yesterday, I think, is a prime example of that.
True.
But how can I predict Kubarsi getting a red card, right? I mean, usually Barcelona, they usually don't call those for them because they pay the refs ahead of time. I guess they must have forgot to do that today. But anyways, next match, we have Burnley. I mean, they're relegated, but they're getting better
Right.
recently. And then this Brighton side, who I think have also gotten better recently.
I mean, I guess they are a bit improved, but relatively speaking, I still feel like this Burnley team is so flat. I mean, they don't create much of anything. They make not much of an effort to, anyways. So many attacking sequences, I've said this before, that just end without a shot. And sometimes they do find good chances. Chances, I feel, are almost gifted to them a lot of the time. And in the occasional game, think the win against Palace, they really do take advantage. Those 3 quick fire goals, right? But usually they don't accept those gifts. And I think we saw that against Fulham here. Fleming missing 2 clear opportunities, especially the second one, which he shot straight at Bernd Leno before he finally scored. And I guess the team must have been pretty disgusted with that because we saw a whole lot of nothing from Burnley's offense for the rest of the game. We also got a lot of defensive fragility because Dubravka did, I think, make an error for Fulham's equalizer. But beyond that, Burnley just did not defend well for the rest of the game. Wilson was able to cut inside far too easily. We said this before, it's his specialty, but like they gave him too much room to do that.
Oh, yeah.
Especially given this is Burnley and we expect them to play pretty much a low block anyways. It's like you'd hope for more from this team that are going from defense from the get-go. And then late penalty as well. Like this team just completely lost control, basically after the equalizer. I feel like that's just, if you don't put up any good attacking pressure, don't take enough chances, pressure will build against you. And Burnley are just too easy to break down when pressure builds against them. So
I agree with all of that, but I think what we're forgetting to consider is that Brighton are a team that loves to self-sabotage. They love to make things harder for themselves than they need to be. And sometimes when that happens, a weaker side like Burnley, who isn't all that consistent, can take advantage of some cheap giveaways, of some chances you give them. And I think there's one thing specifically that makes me think that could happen in this match, and that is that Lewis Dunk is suspended. Now, Olivier Bascagli, I think, has been very solid in previous seasons, but he hasn't gotten a lot of playing time for Brighton. I think shockingly low amount of playing time, given what we were expecting at the start of the season, given the quality he has, especially as a progressive center back. But if he's rusty and he tries to be a little bit too progressive, we could see some problems here. And I do think the best way for Burnley to score is off of these cheap giveaways. They have a relatively clinical front three, in my opinion. It's just the chance generation, I think, is more of an issue. And so, especially given they're at home, like Wolves, you're going to be very liberated. I actually think that Burnley are going to score in this match.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think for me, I have 2 options here. First off, Brighton have found a really nice rhythm as of late. 4 wins in their last 5, and the attack is looking a lot sharper. So I think they can score quite a bit here. I mean, against us, Liverpool, their wide play was very strong, which is like that's what you'd hope for from this team with some great wingers.
The thing is, anyone can have good wide play against Liverpool, so it doesn't really mean much.
That's also true. Yes, but I think Brighton are well set up for that, and they can definitely like I said, Burnley cannot really handle sustained pressure when they're on defense, and I think Brighton can absolutely keep that up. But I do agree with you. They could well get scored on. I'm gonna say that it doesn't happen. I somehow feel like Burnley's luck with just getting random lucky goals is gonna run out in a sense. And what I'm gonna say here is, I'll give it a 2-0 to Brighton. But my other option, and I think this is perfectly reasonable as well, would be a 3-1 if Burnley go even more attacking. But I think if they do so, they inevitably sacrifice what little defensive stability they have in the process. Either way, it's going to be that 2-goal margin for me. I somehow get the feeling this is where we kind of diverge a bit. But
Well, yeah, because I
yeah,
actually
that's
don't
what
even
I
have a 2-goal margin in this match. I
So
only
is
have Brighton
it
winning 2-1.
2-1? Okay.
And I'll tell you why. I think first off, the reason being for Burnley scoring a goal for me is actually not them being more aggressive. It's just Brighton, like I said, self-sabotaging. And then you look at this Brighton attack. Yes, they've gotten better recently. 4 wins from 5 games. Danny Welbeck, 4 goals in 5 games, perfectly matching up there. The rest of the attack, though, I think leaves a little bit to be desired. Minte has gotten better recently, but his finishing hasn't still been to the standard that it was, I think, at the start of the season. Um, Diogo Gomez hasn't really been doing it for me personally either. So I do think Brighton can get the win. I think they're definitely going to control the game, but I don't really see a 2-goal margin here. I think Brighton win this 2-1.
Okay, fair. Then we move on to my guys, Liverpool, up against Fulham. If we drop a third game in a row, I might lose my head live on the next episode. But we are back at Anfield. So does the losing streak break at home here? What do you think?
Well, this is going to be a very interesting one because the issue for you guys, right, is once again divided attention. Because on the one hand, you guys are in desperate straits. You kind of need to qualify for the UCL by making it into the top five. But at the same time, a 2-0 loss to PSG, I mean, you guys played really badly, and you are very lucky that it was only 2 goals. But
Oh, yeah,
at least
absolutely. Yeah.
on paper, the fact that it's only 2-0 and you guys are going back to Anfield,
See,
I think
now
you guys
there's
have a little bit of
pressure.
hope.
Now there's pressure
You see what
on
I'm
us to make a comeback. Yeah, I agree.
Right, and there's pressure on you to focus on that match and not this match because you could still come back with UCL. It's not out of the question. So divided attention. That's the question for me. The one advantage I will say for you guys is that you had no attack recently. You guys offensively have been absolutely dog shit, and part of that is because I said this on the last episode. Ekitike is consistently dog shit against big teams. Thankfully, Fulham is not a big team, and so I actually do think he might cook in this match. Him and Verts, I think, have also shown good link-up play recently. Like, when they're in a front two together, they can definitely cause some trouble. Again, it is the finishing that's the key issue here. But against Fulham, I think there are opportunities for you to do something. But then the weakness is, like we said, Liverpool can make anyone look good on the flanks. And if there's one team that you do not want to cede the flanks to, it is this Fulham side, who have not just Terry Wilson, but also Oscar Bob and Alex Iwobi as regular starters. So I'm going to let you talk a little bit more about this, about your team in particular, but I think this is going to be a very interesting dynamic.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just get this out of the way. The last two matches were absolutely brutal. Smashed by City, and yeah, the 2-0 loss away at PSG was flattering. It could have easily been 4. Mamardashvili had to bail us out multiple times. Weird tactical setup. I mean, I don't know that it was necessarily bad in theory, but clearly it just didn't work out. Not one shot on target, and it's just another game where we looked completely out of sync. So yeah, a lot of the same issues are still here. We concede too many big chances, lose our shape too easily when teams run at us, and the attack has not had nearly enough bite to make up for all that. But it is like you said. I think we can work better in attack against Fulham. So that's going to be part of it for me. I think that helps us a lot here. And what takeaways can we make from the PSG game? Not the back five, obviously. We are not setting up with a back five at Anfield, or I might end it right there. But
if you line up with a back five at home against goddamn Fulham, holy shit!
I wouldn't put it past Slot to try it at this point. But
he's a desperate man. He is a desperate fucking man, Arne.
But for lots of the first half against PSG, we pressed quite well, made things awkward high up the pitch. Of course, when they did score, we started to slowly fade out, right? But I think that's something we've got going for us, that we can still press decently well. It's very important we keep that up against Fulham, because they have Harry Wilson drifting inside. They have Iwobi finding good pockets. If we sit off them, they're going to grow into the game. So we really need to make sure they cannot settle. And I think we can manage that if we put in the effort, we bring the energy. The other big thing is we need to protect those channels better. Against PSG, our wide pressure sometimes did drag the defenders too far out, and the spaces behind kept opening. Fulham do not rotate as well as PSG, obviously, but Wilson especially, we've talked about him before, can still punish that kind of gap if we let him drift in off the right. So again, I think it's hard to it's all theory for me when I discuss Liverpool, right? Because our players can be very shit if they feel like it. But if we keep the fullbacks a bit more measured, let McAllister and Soboslai help control the second balls, I think we can eliminate the possibility of straight carnage on the wings. And at that point, it is just up to whether we can score enough to concede any other errors we might make later. So I think like the way we played against PSG is not too different from like how we'd want to set up here. It's just we need better player performances is kind of what it is for me. His letting up 2-0 loss to PSG isn't the worst. 2-0 loss to Fulham, that's going to be something, right? Yeah. That is Slot's head on a pike right there. Yeah.
Yeah. No, if that happens, because you guys, are you fifth or sixth right now in the Premier League? I don't remember.
We're fifth. Right? We're 1 point.
But you're only 1 point safe right now, so it's not exactly a great situation to be in.
I mean, every game is a must-win game, basically.
Right.
Yeah.
So here's the thing for me. You said that if Liverpool settle into this match, there shouldn't be too many issues, and I agree with that. The thing is, I don't think they're going to settle into this match because, okay, I want to know, in order of everything we've said, all well and good, right? You have to create attacking chances. Who's going to be your number 10?
Couldn't say.
Should be Hurts, but does not want to play him.
He's not good.
I'll tell you what. I think that PSG match is evidence that Soboslai cannot do shit as a number 10. He's just not a. Right. It's not that he's a player. It's not that he's a bad player. He's just not a playmaker. He's not a progressive midfielder. I don't know why you guys keep trying to force him into that role.
I mean, I feel like at one point he was decent there, and then we moved him out for so long that maybe he actually just got rusty. And it's like now we have to play him at right back. I guess he's changed positions. There's just no other choice anymore.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even if you play him even if you actually play Vert Central and you do it alongside him, I think that would be a lot better. But last match when it was just Gravenberch and McAllister just trying to fucking do whatever they could to hold back Matinha and John Evans and all of them, and just Soboslai by himself, like that was stupid. I'm sorry, that was incredibly dumb in my opinion, just tactically speaking. And this Fulham midfield should not be underestimated. Sander Berge, Josh King, these are very solid players. I think a large issue for Fulham earlier in the season was I think Sander Berge was not really playing up to par yet. He's gone a lot better. And then Josh King, I think this continues to get better and better every game. He's like, what? I think he's like 18 or 19 maybe. This guy's got a lot of potential. And he's playing confident. And that's not something I can say about this Liverpool side. So I'm sorry to tell you, like, maybe I'm over-hating on you guys a little bit, but I don't think you're going to win this, even at home. I think it's going to be a 1-1 draw here.
I mean, I'll say one other thing is that a big concern for Fulham is the away form, to be honest. We are not that much better at Anfield than away, to be fair. But I think it's still not a place you want to be as a struggling away team. Like, I think Fulham genuinely do struggle when they're not at Craven Cottage. Ultimately, I still expect it will go like a home game should. We're going to get more of the ball. We're going to get more sustained pressure. And Fulham have had real trouble with that sort of thing. Now, the question is, can we utilize that? Like, I do think we get more of the ball, but I think at that point it's just up to our players and can they make use of that properly. But I'll just say I obviously do not trust us right now. I feel like I have no reason to. But I can't count out the chance for a loss even. But I trust Fulham away from home a bit less. I think they have the players to sustain really good attacking pressure throughout a game, but a decent away environment is the one thing that I think often stops that from happening. So I will say at some point we're able to settle down the game. I do definitely expect both teams to score. I'll say we win 2-1. It could be easily a 1-1 draw, though. But I will say, just given Fulham is playing away, I don't think a loss for Liverpool is very likely at all here. I could be absolutely fucking jinxing it, though. Lord knows.
Usually when I say Liverpool are going to draw, they win. So actually, you should be feeling happy right now.
Okay.
You're not usually the jinxer, I feel like. But we'll see. Next up, though, This is going to be very interesting in my opinion. Crystal Palace.
Okay. Palace, bit of a weird team to read right now because, like, on one hand, there are players in decent form. Sar especially has been a big source of life for them lately. I know I think it was Larnaca in the Conference League, with the Conference League on the line, he was the one guy consistently making things happen. Got the goal, had another goal ruled out, hit the woodwork late. He just looked very sharp throughout that game. I think he was producing a lot. And generally, Palace do still have enough athleticism and attacking quality with their players to make games uncomfortable. But in actuality, their output in the league has been poor for a while now. Leeds' game was a great example. They had a whole half against 10 men and still couldn't put together proper pressure. I mean, I complain about us not finding a shot on target against PSG. Palace couldn't find one at home, I think, against a Leeds side. Down a man for half the game. And more broadly, just in every game, they underperform the chances they create. You posted, Darian, that one table from
Oh
Fotmar
yeah,
showing
please
Palace
put it on the
I
screen.
will. With the worst XG underperformance in the league. I think we know who to blame for a lot of that. But that said, even if the buildup is okay, you're still left wondering who is actually going to finish the move. It
By the
just
way,
seems to
just
me,
because we have some new viewers from recent Champions League, World Cup, etc. videos, for people
yeah,
who don't know who we're talking about, for people who don't watch like the mid-table Prem teams, the
right.
worst striker in the Premier League by far, his name is John Fleet Mateta. Just to let you know,
Yeah,
that's what we're talking about.
he is bad. And we had in one of our earlier league overviews a segment on how bad he was doing. Yeah,
Yeah, and he
we
wasn't
we
even at his
only ever
absolute
do
worst yet.
right. We
He
only
was still
ever do
scoring
player
goals back
segments.
then.
We usually do player segments on on good players, but Mateta was the exception there. But again, it's like Palace just seem averse to scoring right now. Obviously, like their chance creation is better than a Burnley, right? But their finishing is just so shit. And if there's no standout performance in this game against Newcastle, I think they are once again going to struggle for goals.
I agree with that. I think part of the issue, I don't want to put too much blame on this Palace side because they don't really have a lot of depth. And I would say that the fact that they were in the Conference League this season, the fact that they have to play so many double headers, I actually think that also accounts for a lot of the sluggishness and statistical underperformance of this Palace side. I think one good example of this, I don't know if this is gonna really make sense, but I think Adam Wharton, he's still very solid and he goes through the motions during these double header weeks. And what often happens is he will put his passes in, he will create opportunities, stretch the lines, but then he's just like a half second late, it feels like, so that he still gets the pass off, but it's not as deadly as it would have been if he were fully fit. Because this Adam Wharton is like so instrumental to this Palace side that even when they play 2 or 3 times a week, he has to play 90 minutes every game. Like they cannot rest him whatsoever, at least in any match of any importance. And so that half second, I mean, it doesn't change what the pass looks like on SofaScore. It doesn't change what the expected assist is on FootMob. But we like when we actually watch the game, it's not the same. You know what I'm saying? And I think he is just so instrumental to this Palace midfield that factor. It's not his fault, but that factor it does really hurt this Palace side a lot.
Yeah, though to be fair, Newcastle are not exactly inspiring confidence right now either. I mean, this if we look at the Sunderland game, it was a mess. Not just because it was a derby, but like Newcastle did what they always do. They started all right, got the early lead. Once Sunderland adjusted, Newcastle had no real answer for them. It's like I think this team is the one that has dropped now the most points from winning positions in the league. Their games just never feel secure. They can start them well, but once the opponent changes something, if there's a single like one or two good player swaps, Newcastle really struggle to steady themselves from whatever momentum change comes after that. Tactically, I think the concern is going to remain the gap between the midfield and the defense. Sunderland absolutely exploited that, especially once Newcastle's man to man pressure got dragged around the pitch. And Palace don't quite have Sunderland structure, but they do have guys like Sarr who can definitely attack space if Newcastle leave it. The one thing in Newcastle's favor, oddly enough, from what I've seen, might be that they're away from St. James's Park here. Because lately that home atmosphere has looked real bad. More of a burden than a boost. Almost like a London stadium earlier. But even with that, even if that somehow helps them, the fact that they're playing away, I don't trust them to push for a full win. I think this team just feels too unstable once the game starts turning. Maybe they take a lead here. I don't know that they keep it. Yeah.
That's sort of what I'm thinking as well, because I look at this Newcastle side and their finishing has just not been good at all season, really, I would say. There was at one point at the start of the Premier League when Voltemade was considered one of the best transfers in the Premier League. Now he's played as a midfielder. That's how far this man has regressed since joining Newcastle. And nobody's picking up the pieces because Yoane Wissa is always injured. He does not do jack shit. Anthony Alenga has not performed well in a single game this season, except for randomly against Barcelona in a match where I'm sorry, the rest of the team is not good enough to beat them anyways. And so, I mean, I don't really get it for this side either. I mean, the only reason Voltemade is even still playing is because Bruno G is injured. If Bruno G were fit, then Voltemade would not even be a starter at this point, which goes to show just how far this Newcastle side has fallen, in my view at least. Harvey Barnes and Anthony Gordon, that's like the one hope they sort of have offensively. But I agree with you. I think as soon as Newcastle have to deal with a change, or as soon as they face like the first sign of adversity, this team just always falls apart. And so even though I think they should win by all accounts in this match, they are constantly in matches where they should win and they don't. And so this feels like a 1-1 draw for me.
Yeah, and Palace as well in their home games have felt primed lately for either a draw or a one-goal loss at home. And I don't think Newcastle is going to do enough here to turn this into that latter outcome. If anything, yeah, I do think they go ahead and Palace find an equalizer later on. And I'll also say it ends 1-1. Yeah.
Well, then that brings us to our next match. It is two teams who just played today in the Europa League. The two remaining teams in England in the Europa League, Aston Villa and Nottingham. Both of them took care of business in the midweek. 3-0 for Nottingham, 3-1 for Villa. How are you feeling about them?
Wait, was it 3-0 for Nottingham? Hold on. Oh, or are you thinking of the Spurs?
I'm being fried. Oh my goodness. I was thinking of not Spurs. Who was I thinking of? I was thinking of Palace.
Yeah, oh yes, that's right. Palace in the Conference League, right?
I would still say though. Sorry, so Forest drew 1-1 against Porto. Sprouted misinformation. But I will say though, I don't know how you feel. I think that's a positive result for them because that was the away leg.
Here's the thing. What I'll say. Okay, Forest are for me a very hard team to trust. Obviously, they're constantly rolling through managers. They had that big win against Spurs, a 3-0 away win, basically a 6-pointer for the relegation race. And we've seen Pereira has brought a lot of life, a lot of energy into this team. But I still come back to the same concerns. The system has changed too many times this season. The squad has never thus been able to settle into anything. And I feel like a lot of their good moments then feel pretty matchup specific rather than like sustainable for the team as a whole. Spurs are a mess. We know that much and gave them loads of room to transition into. Villa's not going to do that nearly as much. Also, I think there's no Anderson here. That's a pretty big blow in midfield. One less player helping them win second balls and connect things forward. I do think Chris Wood now.
Wait, I'm pretty sure he is still playing. He just was suspended for the Europa League match.
Okay. That's a help to them. Yeah, that's good. But I feel like there's a lot of uncertainty with this team. And if you do want to talk about the Europa game, I might say a bit more about these matchups later when I talk about Villa. But in my mind, Forest got lucky with a draw.
I fully agree with you, by the way.
For anyone who watched that game...
is it luck or is it Ortega just absolutely cooking, though? What do you want to say?
No, I guess because the equalizer wasn't their goal, so like...
Well, okay, yeah.
True. Right.
So I guess
that's what I have to say for Forest. They're very questionable to me, but I don't think it's... they're obviously happy to get a draw at Porto, who are a strong team, but I think it was largely not up to them playing well. That's all.
No, I agree. I fully agree.
They were fine. It's just like not deserving of a draw, honestly.
Yeah.
But Porto gave it to them. Yeah.
Look, this is what I think. I think that, by the way, for people who are not aware, recently it was confirmed that the Premier League is going to get their 5 UCL spots. So, given that that's the situation, I don't want to jinx it because we know what happened last year, but Aston Villa are going to be in the UCL next season. I think knowing that, they're focused on the Europa League, and knowing that Nottingham are still very much in a relegation race, even though I guess they do get a little bit of a cushion after that 3-0 win against Tottenham, that drastically changes the situation for these two teams. Because look at the team that Nottingham Forest fielded in the Europa League vs the team that Villa fielded. I would say Villa fielded close to like an A squad, like an A minus, whereas the team that Nottingham Forest fielded feels more like a B plus to me. And even some of the starters that did play, they got subbed off relatively quickly. Chris Wood, as you're saying, he's back. He gets subbed off right at halftime. And I think part of that is
probably to protect the injury, to be honest, I think.
But still, that does mean that he's going to be more fit for this match against Villa.
For this game against Villa, true.
And then same thing for Morgan Gibbs-White as well. So you consider that, and then the midfielders that were not playing, obviously Elliot Anderson was not playing. I think you do have to consider the fact that I think Nottingham Forest are going to prioritize this match against Villa, and Villa are not. That is something you have to consider. You have to also consider the fact that Nottingham are at home. And I say the exact same thing I said about West Ham. You are correct that Nottingham don't have a clear identity, and they're playing every game match by match, and it's probably not sustainable. But they don't need to be sustainable right now. They just need to last a few more matches. They just need to survive 7 more games for the rest of the Premier League. Again, because I don't think the Europa League really matters for them. They just have to survive these last 7 games. They just stay up, and then next season you have a fresh slate. You can sign new players. Nobody will be injured, and you can start over. I think that's the mentality for Nottingham Forest right now. They just have to survive. And if that's the job you need them to do, I mean, I've been very critical about this, the manager, the overturn, but I mean, it's kind of working right now. To be fair to them, like they're cooking. They did just destroy Tottenham.
They finally found one good manager. So yeah,
right,
it's worked out eventually.
And not even that I rate Vitor Pereira. It's just that like he can get them through the hump, just survive this season. That's it, right? That's sort of how I'm feeling right now. So, yeah, I mean, I'll let you talk about Villa real quick, but I do think that, like, we have to consider those 2 factors to Nottingham's advantage. Those 3 factors, really, to Nottingham's advantage.
I agree. I mean, for Villa, I do think it's safe to say Villa are better prepared for this stage of the season with, like, league games and European ties all close together. Yeah, like, Forest were struggling in the first 10 minutes of their game, needed a crazy own goal from Porto for them to equalize and for them to really be able to settle into the game because Porto just got depressed afterwards. I feel like that's really what happened there. Whereas Villa, they had their usual slow start, but they stayed pretty stable through it all. And ultimately, they scored 3 for a strong showing, continuing a comfortable streak of wins for them. We've talked about how they've gotten some of their midfield players back, which was really the big hamper for them for so long. And with Tielemans and McGinn healthier again, this team just looks more like itself. They look very good. I think if this were a game in like sort of more of a vacuum, like Forest are even playing at home. I think they are the worst side there. I don't think that home advantage gets them past Villa. But what I will say could help them like ease up a bit here or give them better odds is, like you said, the fact that Villa have got priorities elsewhere now. I think Forest probably have a bit of an understanding that they like between the positions they are in the Prem and in the Europa League, they should not be prioritizing the Europa League, right? So it's like you said, they have to take this game very seriously. And Villa, not so much. I do think, I'll even just like give a final call right now here. This is kind of like off rip for me. It's not a super well thought out like final call I've got. But I think both of these teams are going to bring some good energy to this game. Villa, despite not really prioritizing it, I think they are better than Forest right now, and they can really push Forest. I'll say Villa could go for like 2 goals. Maybe it's like Villa 1 goal, Forest 1 goal, Villa 2 goals, and then let's say at some point Forest equalize again. And at that point, I think Villa are just like, you know what? Fair enough. We'll leave it at that.
Right.
Good game, guys. 2-2 draw. We'll take it, and we focus on Europa. So that's exactly what I'm going to have. It could be a 1-1 as well. I just feel like I think both teams can bring some energy here, but eventually they will just settle down and not push themselves too hard, knowing that Forest have got other games, right? Forest have got other games in the Prem to think about, and Villa have got Europa to think about as well. So eventually they'll be like, yeah, 1 point, fair enough.
I didn't think about 2-2 as a possibility. I think I probably should have gone 2-2. I mean, for the 3rd straight result, they went 1-1 again. Okay. I went 1-1 once more. I mean, look, I I think we basically covered this match pretty well. I would just say like the one line, right? I think I just have to say the thing. He's been out all season. There is no forest without the wood, and the wood is here. All right. Don't take that the wrong way, please. I'm talking about Chris Wood. I don't know what people in the comments might be thinking about. Um, yeah. I mean, like they haven't had him since literally the start of the season. I think they would be so much better just with him playing as a striker. There will be questions about whether or not he's regressed with a long-term injury, since those do tend to affect players, especially older players. But I just think that this is basically this is his first time playing at the home stadium, I believe. Maybe he played with them because he did play with the reserve team, but this is definitely his first time playing with the first team at the Forest Ground in close to a year. So for me, I think he's going to get the one goal for Nottingham Forest. I think Ollie Watkins has been a little bit of a regress recently. I have a feeling he's not going to score today. I'm going to say maybe either John McGinn or Morgan Rogers gets the one goal for Villa, but I'm going to say a 1-1 draw.
Yeah, fair enough. I think the draw works out pretty well here. Just all things considered, you try and balance them out. That's what you get. Yeah. Okay. Next match. Tottenham are now on their third manager of the season, not too far off Forest at this point, right? And just as Igor Tudor had a tough debut against Arsenal, De Zerbi has got a game against Sunderland at the Stadium of Light. So, do you think he has any chance of overcoming that insane Sunderland home advantage in his first game?
The one thing we should consider is, unfortunately for him, the Sunderland home advantage is going to be even more insane now than it was before. Because one thing we were talking about with the Sunderland squad is how remarkable it was that they were playing as well as they were with all their injuries. But those injuries are gone. Finally, Sunderland have basically their full squad. I'm looking at like the players that they can field today. Dog, they're going to finally have Reynoldo and Mukiele and Dan Ballard all healthy at the same time. When's the last time all three of them were healthy at the same time, bro? Like, it's got to be like August, September, maybe. Like, I swear, it's one of them is always injured. They're all there. The entire midfield is there, bro. Enzo Lefebvre, Granit Xhaka, Habib Diarra, Noah Siddiqui, they're all healthy. I swear, like, one of those four are also, like, always injured. So, this is the scariest Sunderland side that we've seen, basically since, like, the start of the year. And you remember how scary that side was. Sunderland all year, I think, have lost in the stadium like one time, maybe once or twice. It's going to be a very, very tough ask. Like, De Zerbi is really unlucky that this is his first game.
Yeah. I mean, Sunderland have been doing just a real good job of staying in every game. Regardless of what players they have, they always make the whole 90, like almost the whole 90 uncomfortable. Newcastle game was another great example of that. They didn't start especially well, but they adjusted. They were able to completely change the flow of the game. To be fair, helped along a bit by Newcastle as well. But I feel like it was all very deliberately done. I mean, like we know Libri is great tactically, right? And I think again, like they've got this crowd behind them that just really makes life difficult for visiting teams. So when you have this Tottenham side that is already in such turmoil, I feel like this is the last place they want to be, besides maybe their own home stadium. So it's not great for De Zerbi and for Spurs all around. I feel like Sunderland are close to, if not at their like best. Well, we'll see how things actually turn out now that players are coming back. I think the only concern players-wise is Roofs might actually not be here. But then again, let's say Sunderland have to play someone else in net. Can Tottenham take advantage of that? I'm not so sure, to be completely honest.
They have to get shots off first.
Yeah. Like I would be concerned perhaps if we had key midfield injuries. But well, that's not really the case anymore. So Tottenham, are they even going to break through to get those shots off in the first place? I'm not sure that's happening. Yeah, I'll even just speak on Tottenham a bit right now. If you guys really want to see us shit on Spurs, go to our league overview video from 2 weeks ago. I think a lot of that stuff is still relevant now. We have a new manager, so let's speak for a bit about De Zerbi. What is he bringing to the table? He wants more control on the ball. Yeah.
Oh, we'll sorry. You want to talk about football?
Oh, yeah. No. Tactically speaking, we will see if he brings Greenwood over. But like tactically speaking, he wants. I saw the meme.
They said they were gonna. They told him we're gonna bring Mason. They were talking about Ryan Mason, but he thought they were talking about Mason Greenwood.
Mason Greenwood.
That's the kind of person that Tottenham have. Very objectionable guy, I would just say.
Yeah, I saw a lot of objections from the fans, but I don't know. It is what it is now. Best you don't sack him and have to find another manager, right? I think he'll probably look to settle the team into like a 4-2-3-1 or something close to it. And there are, I think, players in this squad who should suit that better than what Tudor was trying. We said Tudor would be a bad fit tactically, and it hit a De Zerbi, I think, not so much. Xavi Simons, I think, could especially benefit if Spurs start building around a real creator in that central area. Solanke too could improve a lot, but like again, we're still talking about Tottenham here. Even if we say the tactics are good, the confidence is dog awful. The injury list is still rough as well, and they just lost 3-0 at home to Forest in a match where once they conceded, their heads dropped immediately. That has happened for most of this season, and new manager or not, I don't know that you fix that in a week, right? And going away to Sunderland for your first match with that crowd and with this much pressure and with a team that is already down on their luck and very much acts like it, not exactly a gentle entry point, right? I think from what I'm saying, like the fact that I've not really mentioned one pro for Tottenham, or you can imagine what sort of result I have here, but yeah, it really is just I think that thorough the shit that Tottenham is in.
I mean, I think we also are not sure that deserve. We're not so sure that De Zerbi is actually a good fit for this Tottenham side, at least in my opinion, because the problem with the way De Zerbi sets up is that he requires quality from his team. Tottenham, not so much shown this season, in my opinion. I mean, maybe Xavi Simons could get better under him, but we haven't seen it. It's going to take time, isn't it? The issue is he's going to play attacking football. Tottenham haven't really done that for a while, and against a Sunderland side that's very difficult to break down just through pure offense, I'm not sure if they're going to be able to do that. And then the other issue is the more you do that with a team that's not really ready, or I should say that hasn't adjusted, the more likely it is that you're prone to errors, you're prone to slipping up, you're prone to cheap giveaways. And if there's one team you don't want to have cheap giveaways against, it's the Sunderland side. They are deadly in transition. We saw it start of the season. No reason for me to think it's any different now. So, I mean, there are a lot of unknowns, obviously, about how De Zerbi's going to set up. Like we know the formation pretty much. It's probably going to be the 4-2-3-1. But who is he going to want to play? Not so clear. But while like the new manager bounce always exists, when you have such a radical shift, even though there was the international break, you kind of do have to also factor in the adjustment period. Like, it's not to say that the Tottenham squad doesn't inherently fit with his system, but it's going to take time.
Yeah, yeah, it will. And I don't think they're going to get their shit together here, especially against Sunderland, who are a very coherent team right now. And at home, they've always been hard to deal with. And I think they are as hard as ever to deal with right now at the Stadium of Light. I think Spurs are definitely still going to have their usual shaky moments. And I want to say that they can create a bit more here. They will find a goal, I think. But Sunderland will control enough of this game that they'll make it look pretty comfortable for them. I'll give it a 2-1 Sunderland win, but not too uncomfortable for a 1 goal margin. Maybe even it's just like a late Richarlison consolation goal instead of like anything productive earlier on in the match. I don't think it'll be the worst game for Spurs, but they just won't look especially threatening in my mind.
I think that Tottenham's going to utterly fail to break this team down, especially with the midfield that I just laid out earlier for Sunderland. Um, but I think this is going to be one of Sunderland's 1-0 victories. One of their classic sort of grind out the games. They could probably go a lot harder on Tottenham, but I don't think they will. I think they're going to allow them to soak up pressure and just build on the mistakes that I think are inevitably going to happen. And so I think Sunderland are going to be happy just taking a 1-0 win. And if they set up defensively, just with the quality that they have, I just don't really see Tottenham scoring on them. Not with the Zerbi system right away. So, yeah, it could be 2-1, but I'm going to say 1-0.
Okay. Then we move on to Chelsea, who just got a nice confidence boost in the cup a few days ago. But can that spark a league comeback for them? They are sure going to hope it does because they've got Man City in the league, and then Man U next week, and then Brighton after that. So it's a very interesting stretch for them. I think if they want UCL, they really need a turnaround right now. So this game is going to be pretty important for them.
Yeah. I think I mean, there's two sides to the situation here, right? You have one team that has really recovered recently. So the City side that, I mean, after the embarrassment to Madrid, two straight impressive wins, Liverpool and Arsenal, and then the Chelsea side, who I think this continues to flounder with no end in sight. I guess I'll start with Chelsea. I think everything has just gotten worse for them. The defense is getting worse, and it was never that good. Caicedo has regressed. Enzo Fernandez did some stupid bullshit, and he is rightfully being suspended. Cole Palmer continues to be dog shit in the league, at least. I think I think Steve Yao might have to play in this match. I think he should start. But if he doesn't, then João Pedro is going to once again get no help. I've already said this before, but but it's like the meme, like João Pedro's teammates stink of poo. That is the situation this guy is in. He is dealing with fucking Pedro Neto and Cole Palmer on the wings if Steve Yao doesn't start. It's I At some point you just feel bad for the guy, honestly. And then you look at the midfield that City have. I think Rodri has gone a lot better recently. Now, how much of that has come from? How much of that is sustainable? I don't know. But even if he's not at his best, this City midfield and just the City side in general, I think this has way too much quality for Chelsea to cope this well. The best it can do is just hope for City to have a bad finishing night and just try to do something on the counter.
Yeah, but I think they've been pretty sloppy if you look at their recent games. Like the Everton game, not great build up, no real control once the game started going against them, and their defense just kept getting exposed by direct running and quick transitions. Issues, I think all of those issues they've had for a while, but particularly those defensive vulnerabilities. That's the part that worries me the most here because City will punish those moments with no mercy. I can tell you as much having watched our game. And yeah, what will give Chelsea their little sliver of hope is that technically they do have a high attacking ceiling. Palmer has been quite off as of late, Neto even more so, but I think they do always have the opportunity to do well. If Esteval keeps his form up, that is another serious threat between the lines. But this attack is just unstable. Like, I can't trust that they are suddenly all going to pick up form here, all the guys that have been underperforming as of late. I think that's really what they need for a win, or even if they want to draw. Like, they need these guys to really pick up the pace in this game. They've got injuries in the back. Enzo's out. And of course, this team has had discipline issues all season. Enzo's suspended. Maybe we see someone else get a suspension here. Who knows? When things start going wrong, they really unravel emotionally. Hence all those yellow and red cards. I just don't think they're going to be calm enough to play their way into this game, especially if City score first. I do not see a comeback on the cards for Chelsea here.
Yeah, and then on the City side, I mean, offensively, they've been cooking recently. Holland got its form back in the Cup, but the issue is we don't know if Cup translates to Premier League. Like, that's sort of been an issue, I think, for Holland, basically his entire career at City. But everybody else, I mean, I say this all the time. Between Semenyo, Foden, Turkey, and Doku, I don't know who's going to cook in any given game, but somebody will. And this Chelsea side is just so weak defensively that one person, that's all Man City needs. And as soon as they open up the floodgates and they force Chelsea to play on the initiative, because you have to remember, like, I think Chelsea would take a draw, but again, they are chasing Liverpool. They do need all the points they can get here. I think that this game could become very ugly for Chelsea very quickly. I do think that they can score a goal through either Steve Yao or João Pedro, but City just have way too much. I mean, they're still chasing a Premier League. I think it might be a little bit too late in that I don't think Arsenal are going to drop another 6 points by the end of the season. But I think City might just go on a tear and just win every game remaining of the season. Totally plausible in my opinion. And this match, even at Stamford Bridge, I don't see it going any other way. I'm going to say City win this one 3-1. Pretty dominant fashion.
Yeah, I actually have a 3-1 as well. I was thinking, like, I did want to go for that 2-goal margin. Usually we don't go for 3-goal here just because it's, like, unlikely to the point where it's not really that useful for us to predict that. But I think 3-1 is completely fair. Again, Chelsea still have attacking threats. I think they can still score something. It's just City, I think, can get on top of the game pretty early. And once Chelsea start chasing, those discipline issues and defensive gaps will show up again. Plus, like, when we when we predicted City getting past Madrid in the UCL, Their offensive depth and variety was the reason why. And had the backline held up better and they'd gotten through, I think they'd be causing Bayern even some problems right now. Madrid ultimately was able to cause City's backline real issues, and we saw that 3 goals from Valverde, right? And that tie was kind of over. Chelsea are not going to have a Valverde. They're not going to have a guy step up like that and just tear the game apart so that City have no way back. If you don't tear the game apart, I think City always can find a way back from even like a goal or two down. They have those scoring threats that they can absolutely make it work in from most score lines, most situations. I think they'll find a way to win somehow. But if you ask me for a specific score line, 3-1. I think ultimately Chelsea are not even gonna. I'm talking about they tear the game apart. They're not. They're not even gonna find the first goal, bro. I think it'll be
Yeah.
mostly City most of the way through.
I mean,
Yeah.
these guys conceded 3 to Everton. I mean, conceding
Right.
3 to City is nowhere near out of the question for me.
Yeah. Okay, then to end off this match week, we have I think it's a Roses rivalry game, is what it is. We have Man U and we have Leeds, who are facing very different stakes at either end of the Prem table. So we're going to see how this works out.
Yeah, I mean, I would say for this United side, I mean, I made this argument uh, last time we did a Prem sort of update video. I don't see how you could ask Michael Carrick to do any better than he's doing right now. In fact, I would argue that he is. I would argue. I've seen some people say this. I don't agree. I've seen people say that if Michael Carrick was the manager at the start of the season, United would win the Premier League this year. I don't think that's true because I think he would get found out at some point. But right now, Man United are playing like it. The only issue is obviously when they have to play multiple games in a week. They really don't have any depth whatsoever. Like they don't even rotate their starting 11. That's how little depth they have. They, out of necessity, do not rotate their starting 11 in midweeks. But they are well rested right now. They're playing right off an international break, and if you don't believe me, you can go check it yourself. Michael Carrick, since he took the United job, every time United have played, one time in a week, one time in a 7-day span, every single game without fail they have won. Not even just they haven't lost, they have won every game since I don't remember, maybe like January or February, when he became the manager. So that's the form that United are on right now. And you look at the team, I would say other than the fullbacks, it's hard to find weaknesses. I mean, even the midfield, like Casemiro's back, Kobe Mainu is what he is. Bruno Fernandes, I think he needs 5 more assists to break the all-time Premier League record. It's still pretty much on the cards, I would say. And so the one advantage that Leeds often has against bigger teams is they can beat them through physicality in the midfield. I don't even think they can do that against this United side.
Yeah, I think they did come off a very frustrating draw at Bournemouth, but though it was a frustrating game, I don't see it as a very alarming thing that they did have that draw because they still created enough in that game, still had control for long stretches. They were playing away, to be clear. And yeah, even with that chaos laid on that ultimately did lead to them dropping 2 points there, it is still only 3 non-wins in 10 games for Carrick. The big picture is just very positive here. We've talked about this enough, I feel like, but Bruno playing central again, the structure around him is actually supporting that instead of forcing him to do everything himself. The 4-2-3-1 going into like a 3-2-5 in possession, that's been a key thing, and it's been working well consistently, especially you get like Dallo pushing high, Cunha and Ahmed really stretching the opposing teams. It feels like everything is working in this system. Like no one has figured out Carrick yet, and I think it will be real hard for United if and when that happens. But for now, it is just working so well for them. And I think Leeds, just as any other team, would have a very tough time finding a solution to what United have got up their sleeves. Leeds is going to have real trouble here as well, especially because United is rested. They've got a clear objective now, which is just keep the UCL places, literally no other competitions. Leeds have another competition even, and not United, right? So I expect they're going to come into this with a lot of energy, and they're going to have pretty clear control of this game, which even for Leeds in the way they play, that is going to make it very tough for them to find a way back into this.
Yeah, I mean, look at the defense as well. Harry Maguire is suspended, but I would even say Lenny Euro and the Butcher Martinez, they have been absolutely very solid, at least under Michael Carrick. You have to consider like the offense has been really, really good. Mbuemo, Cunha, and then Benjamin Sheshko always off the bench. This guy, he is like the new Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, not the manager, but the player back when he was that super sub for Alex Fergie. And then, I mean, again, I look at this Leeds side. The one advantage is I think Dominic Calvert-Lewin is a big game player, which is very rare for these lower mid-table sides in the Premier League. Unless he does something, I don't see how Leeds scores in this match. Because I don't really, like, there is no advantage anywhere on the pitch for them, I would say. I don't know if you would agree with me. Maybe if they played a system with wingers, they could try to take advantage of that for United, but they don't. But they don't. And so I just think United are going to control this match. I think they're going to get a pretty easy win here.
Yeah, well, what I was thinking was either a 1-0 or a 2-1 is what I had. You could go honestly for 2-goal margin as well in United's favor. But I do think Leeds have been pretty well organized with controlled midfield. They create decent chances at the right times. And like United, they get whatever they plan on, whatever Farke plans on doing with this team, they get it done consistently. But I do think as well, when they have this play style of they just make games very frustrating for the other team. And they really do not take chances unless they're perfect. But like right now, looking at their players and their current injuries, I think Stash and Rodon are potentially out. Both I feel are key to the defensive stability and the midfield balance. I think that could plague Leeds really in this game. And that play style that they really like, they have no depth, Leeds, to be honest. So if that is the case, and it does seem like it will be, it's like that play style is just not going to work out for them. They're not going to be able to hold on. Well, they'll try and hold on for dear life, really, in this game. But I don't think it's quite going to work out. And I think it will be either a 1-0 or a 2-1 to Man U. I'm going to go 2-1. I will literally say that like DCL does some crazy shit. But it's just not going to be enough because I feel like with the squad around him, it's just not going to be enough to hold off United here. So
I feel like every time I highlight DCL, he just doesn't score. Like I
No?
always say, DCL has scored against all of these guys, all these big teams in the Premier League, but then once I mention it, it just doesn't happen. So I think because we've spoken it out of existence, Leeds are not going to score. Okay. Otherwise, I fully agree with you. So I'm going to go with United 2-0 win. I think they're going to dominate. We sort of see the same thing happening here. 2-0 2-1. I don't think it's that big of a difference. But yeah.
Yeah, right. Okay, then that concludes our predictions for match week 32 of the Premier League. A bit of a longer video this time. To be fair, we are coming back from quite a long break. So honestly, there are a lot of variables to consider. But hopefully we can kind of iron things out for everyone in this next match week. And so we will have hopefully a very good idea of where all these teams are by the end of this week going into that final stretch of games, which for a lot of these teams are going to make a big difference. We have a couple teams that could make 7th place for that current last European spot.
Or better. They could break in the Big
True,
Six.
They could push even higher up. Yeah.
Yeah.
We have teams obviously still competition for the UCL, and of course that relegation race. You've got to keep track of that. Right?
I want to say one thing about the relegation race. I believe for both of us, if either of us are correct fully in our predictions, it would mean, or let's just say this: if our predictions collectively are correct this week, it would mean that by the end of this week, Tottenham will be 18th in the Premier League in a relegation spot because we both, I believe, have West Ham winning, and we both have Nottingham drawing, and we both have Spurs losing.
Tottenham losing. Yep.
Yeah. So
it'll be interesting. Those 3 games, I've got to keep track of all 3 of them. Yeah.
Yeah. That would be Spurs down. They would be 2 goals behind. 2 points behind West Ham, 3 points behind Nottingham, if we're correct. That's not a good situation for De Zerbi to be in. So,
right. Yeah.
I mean, obviously we could be very wrong, but it's not looking very good if you're a Spurs fan.
So I guess, guys, for anyone who's still watching, do keep an eye out for our match week reaction video, assuming we do one, which nowadays we do like to run one of those. It'll be very interesting, to see these results and just exactly where these teams are going into these last 6 match days. Yeah. Okay. Then with that said, we'll end this episode off here, but we will see you soon for some match reactions, hopefully, and then another set of predictions from the CoDaKrew. Yeah. Have a good one.
See ya.